The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, according to Lewis Hamilton, is a frightening case study for Mercedes as they prepare to battle with Red Bull in 2024. Despite some hopeful moments, the British driver considers this season to be one to forget, especially after having to drive another one of Mercedes' worst cars ever. So, what can Mercedes expect for next year? Stick around to find out what Hamilton had to say about their 2024 chances, and I'm sorry Mercedes fans, Hamilton isn't looking forward to next year. Even though Hamilton isn't looking forward to it, Mercedes has several reasons to rejoice during the last round of 2023. They managed to earn P2 in the standings ahead of a vulnerable Ferrari after a thrilling and ever-changing last race. George Russell also took his second podium of the season in Abu Dhabi, capping up an otherwise disappointing season with a good result. Lewis Hamilton had a less entertaining day as a result of a rough qualifying session. Despite his team upsetting Ferrari in the constructors' race, the seven-time champion was not overjoyed after the race. After a poor season-ending weekend in Abu Dhabi, Lewis Hamilton claimed Mercedes know what they need to do during the winter to try to catch Red Bull. The 2023 season has now officially come to an end, but it won't be long before attention shifts to the 2024 campaign, with construction on next season's cars having already begun. Hamilton expressed concern at how far ahead Max Verstappen was at the checkered flag on Sunday, as he won his 19th race in 22 this season. While Mercedes ended as the best of the rest, they were a long way behind the season's runaway drivers and constructors champions, giving Hamilton reason for thinking. When asked what he could take from the 2023 season as a whole, Hamilton told Sky Sports F1, "Not too much really," Hamilton said. "It's not been a great year in general, so there's not a lot to take from the year in general. It's the fact that I survived it. Probably that's about it." A long winter awaits Mercedes as they attempt to challenge Red Bull in 2024, and Hamilton has spoken about the effort he is doing behind the scenes to aid along the road. Hamilton, who has been in continuous communication with his crew back at the team's base in Brackley, will be eager for some downtime following a tough 22-race season. Testing will begin in late February, and the seven-time world champion noted that it's just down to the team now in terms of what else he can influence on car development. "At this moment, I don't really know," he responded when asked whether Mercedes will be in a position to challenge come the start of 2024. For Red Bull to win by 17 seconds in the end, and they haven't developed their car since August, is definitely a concern. But we've learned a lot about the car, and it's just down to the team now. They know what they need to do. Whether or not we'll get there, we'll see. Hamilton is right in identifying Red Bull's significant edge heading into the winter break. Even with little wind tunnel time, they have excelled over the last year. Mercedes will need to make a leap similar to what Aston Martin did last year. Unlike the Silverstone-based squad, Mercedes will not be happy with second place in Bahrain. The team believes in the new idea directed by James Allison, which should increase the W15's capabilities. But will it be enough to challenge the front? If we're going by Hamilton's words, it will not be enough, and this has shocked many amongst the paddock, including Damon Hill. Hill, the 1996 world champion, is concerned by his pessimistic answer. He isn't overjoyed about Mercedes' 2024 chances following Lewis Hamilton's poor reaction when asked about his aspirations for next season. It was a dismal finale to a season in which Mercedes even went so far as to abandon the zero-pod philosophy in order to reduce the deficit, opting instead for the more Red Bull-esque larger side pods. "It's a long, hard year, and he'll bounce back from that," he said during the Sky F1 broadcast. But the worrying thing was when Rachel asked him about have you got any hope about what was coming. He was not exactly effervescent about it. The Briton, on the other hand, believes Mercedes must have gained lessons from the previous 2 years' testing, ones that will aid them with next year's W15. "I think on reflection, I'm sure that they'll come back," he added. "They've got to have learned something from the last 2 seasons, and they've got to learn something from this year that will mean that they've got some ability to take a change in direction." He motivated quite a lot of change in that team when they were persisting with their original car, and he's gotten them to change and think differently. So I'm sure that the new car will have no resemblance to the current one. While Hill is concerned about Hamilton, Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff's comments during the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix have his colleague commentator Naomi Schiff anxious. Schiff questioned Wolff after the race if Mercedes was building on or beginning from a completely new basis for next year, which Wolff didn't quite answer, instead mentioning positive things in the pipeline. Look, Lewis has said on multiple occasions that's where he wants to leave his legacy, Schiff added. So I think for now, there's enough hope left within the team. The spirit, even with Toto was saying down the barrel of our cameras, is that he has faith that they can turn the situation around. Of course, they didn't this year. Quite clearly, the mood is still quite low. But I found what was interesting there about what Lewis said, that it's slightly disappointing to see that Red Bull at this point is still winning by 17 seconds. And the question that I was trying to get out of Toto was, are they going to be building from this point on going into next year? Or are they going to turn it around much like Aston Martin did or McLaren did by completely bringing in something different that maybe brings them back to the drawing board? So I don't know if that's a little bit telling of the fact that they might still just be building, hopefully not. So, what did Toto Wolff have to say that could make Naomi Schiff anxious? Well, he's practically on board with Hamilton's view on next year, as he feels overwhelmed by the large distance to Red Bull. We have Mount Everest to climb. Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff is unsure following the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. On the one side, he had a good fight with Ferrari and is pleased that his team earned P2 among the constructors, but on the other, he recalls the agony of P1 being pushed further away. This leaves Wolff is uncertain after achieving P2 in 2023. Is there any cause for Wolff to rejoice after finishing second among constructors? Wolff, on the other hand, when you win on a day-to-day basis, then you win P2, it reminds you that you lost P1. We need to take it on the chin, be humble about it, and consider today as a good day. Nevertheless, there is a Mount Everest to climb in order to catch up with Red Bull. Wolff isn't growing any more confident as he approaches 2024. He expects that the distance to Red Bull will be too large to close in 2024, but the other teams will also be a threat. Wolff said, "I have no doubt that McLaren is going to be right in the mix next year. Maybe Aston Martin, maybe others. We must leave no stone unturned, which we do in Brixworth and in Brackley. As tough as it is to be reminded that it's just P2, it's also a great opportunity to come back and strive for the stars." And next to the opponent's threat, Wolff also has an intra-team battle going on. And in Abu Dhabi, it was a mixed weekend, with George Russell outperforming Lewis Hamilton in another huge performance swing. Toto Wolff says the massive performance differences between Lewis Hamilton and George Russell are difficult to comprehend, but he does believe Pirelli tyres are a factor. Hamilton was unable to extract performance from the W14 during the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix weekend, qualifying 11th and finishing 9th, while Russell had a cleaner, smoother campaign. He qualified 4th and finished 3rd, his second podium of the season, having comfortably outperformed the 5-time Yas Marina champion throughout. Such dramatic performance fluctuations have been prevalent this season, not only for Mercedes, but also for Ferrari, McLaren, and Red Bull, as Wolff pointed out. It is just difficult to comprehend that good drivers in various teams have these oscillations in performance, Wolff said. You've seen it this weekend with Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. You've seen it with George and Lewis and Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. And the obvious one is Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen. Perez is not a second slower than Max, so what is causing it? We have seen it swinging in both directions, and fundamentally, I think all around it is the tyre grip. If you are able to kind of have it in a sweet spot, a stable flat platform that you start to work with at the beginning of the weekend, then you can extract performance. If you are not there, there's just no performance. You're falling off the cliff, literally. I have no explanation for it. And the only one this year who understood how to drive these tyres is Max. Toto isn't wrong here. The only driver that has been able to perform constantly on these tyres is Verstappen. But still, they should have been able to do better, right? What are your thoughts on Mercedes' season and especially on their chances for next year? Let us know in the comments below.